Too little, too late.
Meeting with senators, Bush said he has been working the phones today, coordinating with other Allied leaders a new plan. A plan to escort Kurdish refugees from the mountains along Iraq's northern border back into Iraq, where the land is flatter and more hospitable, as long as Saddam Hussein does not interfere.
I have directed the U.S. military to begin immediately to establish several encampments in northern Iraq where relief supplies for these refugees will be made available in large quantities and distributed in an orderly way. I can well appreciate that many Kurds have good reason to fear for their safety if they return to Iraq, and let me reassure them that adequate security will be provided at these temporary sites.
The president was asked whether he agreed with his wife, Barbara, who suggested yesterday that Saddam Hussein be tried for war crimes and hanged.
I seldom differ with my wife, and I don't know that I would differ with her here. I'll tell you what's the most important thing, however, and that is to get Saddam Hussein out of there. So if you came to me as a broker and you said, I can get him out of there, but he'd have to be able to live a happy life forevermore in some third country with all kinds of conditions, never to go back and brutalize his people again, I'd have to think about it, but I might be willing to say, well, as far as our pressing charges, we'd be willing to get him out.
And back on the subject of the Kurdish refugees, the president said that although the United States will provide protection to refugees north of the 36th parallel, the U.S. will not provide protection to Kurdish guerrillas who continue to fight against Saddam Hussein. Tom?
Thank you, John. Just because American troops are now getting involved in what is a more urgent relief effort, it does not mean that the situation for the Kurds will improve overnight. The refugees are trapped in a remote area laced by stormy weather. NBC's Mike Betcher tonight on the task ahead.
Major Peter Hansen, U.S. Army, wondered how he would answer the questions he'd been assigned. How was America going to help feed 500,000 refugees? Where were the camps that needed help? And exactly what help was needed? The Major was observing a Royal Air Force relief flight to see how the British were handling their airlift. Only one British helicopter was working in this region. It was delivering 14 tons of supplies to various refugee camps. Major Hansen had to plan for a U.S. effort that would carry thousands of tons each day.
The scope of it is pretty intimidating, and it's not surprising that it's going to take 1, 2, 3 weeks to assess the problem, to find out exactly what routes can be used, what methods need to be employed, and then bring in all these assets from a number of different countries.
Some of the assets that Major Hansen needed already had anchored at a southern Turkish port. The USS Guadalcanal carried aircraft and Marines, which will be used to distribute American-donated supplies. These Marines never made it to the Gulf War, but this mission will be difficult too. Already, thousands of refugees were being moved to a more accessible new camp at the base of the mountains. The fenced compound will form part of the new U.S. relief effort. But the vast majority of refugees are still camped on remote mountainsides where food riots are commonplace. So the British helicopter carries on with its mission, hopping from camp to camp, delivering food, picking up the sick, and boosting the morale of a people who feel abandoned.
All work is against us.
Those who are picked to enter the helicopter's rear doors step back into the 20th century, where there are doctors, medicines, and roofs over people's heads. Those who are not picked must stay behind and live another day in a primitive time where nothing in life can be taken for granted. Mike Betcher, NBC News, on the Turkey-Iraq frontier.
In another part of the Middle East, Secretary of State Baker arrives in Israel Thursday in an effort to get a peace process started. Of course, one of the most vexing problems is the West Bank, which Palestinians and Jews alike claim as their own. Tonight, some Israelis were sending Baker a fresh signal. NBC's Martin Fletcher.
On a barren biblical hilltop, a new baby begins a new life in a new home. A far cry from Washington, but the message is loud and clear. Jewish settlers will continue to settle the occupied West Bank, but they'll ignore appeals from Secretary of State Baker to freeze new settlements while he tries to make peace. Monday, opponents of the settlers tried to obstruct bulldozers preparing the ground for the new homes. They're afraid the housing minister, Ariel Sharon, will sour relations with Washington.
We oppose this settlement at this timing because Mr. Sharon, who is always in the right place to do the wrong thing, is now again doing the wrong thing for Israel.
The settlers moved in 3 weeks earlier than scheduled. Their leaders said they hoped Baker got the message. In London, Prime Minister Shamir insisted he didn't know why all the fuss about settlements.
It is not relevant to the political process, to the peace process. It will not change anything.
That's the public line, but the government's hope is that the surge in Jewish housing on the West Bank will change everything, make it impossible ever to give up the land. 100,000 Jews live here now. Shamir finds himself caught in the middle. He wants more settlements, but also wants to keep the peace process alive. His answer, talk quiet, build fast. Even Prime Minister Shamir is said to be furious at the timing of this latest settlement. Officials here say it's a deliberate attempt by Israel's right wing to derail the peace process before it's really even got off the ground. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Revava on the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
Well, Nightly News continues in a moment. In this country, the great railroad strike. It's on track, which means big trouble for passengers and freight. And tonight's Daily Difference.
But tell me the story.
What works?
Please.
The old, teaching the young. A continuing valuable lesson.
Yes, boy.
You know, there are still people out there who need the advantages of a full-size car. They need great gas mileage.
Hello, this is Dr.
At GM, we have cars like the Olds Custom Cruiser that are getting 25 miles to the gallon highway. Mid-sized Buicks, Chevrolets, Pontiacs, Cadillacs, 26 to 31 miles per gallon highway. Today, the fact is, GM leads in more EPA car categories than any other automaker in the world. The roads aren't getting any shorter, so we have to make our mileage better.
We're about to prove a simple point. On the left, a steak wrapped in saran wrap. On the right, both Reynolds and Glad wraps. Now, knowing a tiger won't eat what a tiger can't smell, which one do you think holds in odor and freshness better? Saran wrap.
I swim, I jog. I love junk food. Sometimes even I get constipation.
When it happens to you, X-Lax pills give you a choice. Extra gentle for a little help, regular for a little more. X-Lax, for regular people who sometimes aren't.
America's railroads carry roughly 2/3 of this country's coal, paper, and automobiles, about half of the lumber, chemicals, and food products. That is until midnight tonight, when a strike could grind things to a halt. NBC's Robert Hager is in Washington now. What are the prospects, Bob, for a settlement?
Almost no chance, Tom. A strike seems certain, and just as certain, Congress and the President will order the strikers back to work, maybe as soon as Friday, or at least by the start of next week.
This Conrail freight was pulling out of Newark, New Jersey late today for one final trip. In Detroit, General Motors rushed to get a few last cars loaded before the deadline. In Midland, Michigan, tankers filled up at a Dow chemical plant. But at this building in Washington, there were only half-hearted, sporadic talks today. Larry McFather heads the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers.
We don't want to strike. But under the law, we don't have any choice.
Transportation Secretary Samuel Skinner met with congressional leaders to urge quick passage tomorrow of a resolution ordering an end to the strike.
What we've got to do is make sure that this country and the economy of this country is not destroyed or set back significantly by inaction by the administration or Congress. I can assure you I'm not being inactive, and neither is the President.
But Congress is more likely to take a few days. Democrat John Dingell will convene his House Commerce Committee in the morning.
Even in the Soviet Union, it is now recognized that labor has the right to strike.
The strike is only against freight lines, but will affect some passenger service indirectly. Amtrak will be forced to shut down almost everywhere, operating only in the Northeast Corridor. On the Los Angeles to San Diego run, passenger Robert Edelman will miss his twice-a-week trip to teach in San Diego.
It's obviously disastrous. The railroad is the reason I'm able to make this commute. So without Amtrak, I'm in serious trouble.
But in Chicago, a local judge has just signed an order to attempt to keep commuter trains running there. And commuter service in New York, Philadelphia, and Boston also seems secure.
A strike of a few days wouldn't be too disruptive, but by this weekend, auto plants in particular would be hurting and might have to consider layoffs. Tom?
Thank you, Robert. A man who is no stranger to industrial strikes in his own country hit the diplomatic trail today. Mikhail Gorbachev in Tokyo meeting with Prime Minister Kaifu of Japan. He's the first Soviet leader ever to visit that country. Gorbachev hopes to resolve territorial and other disputes to clear the way for much-needed Japanese investment in his country. And speaking of investments, this was not exactly a bullish day in Poland, but it was historic. In what used to be Warsaw's Communist Party headquarters, a Polish stock exchange opened. There were far more guests than there were brokers. Stocks in only 5 companies were traded. The volume today, well, hardly any. Back in this country, it was a far different story on Wall Street. Stocks were sharply higher in heavy trading.
I put off going to the doctor. But this burning stomach kept waking me up at night. Finally, I just went. I can imagine how relieved I was when my doctor said Mylanta. He said I had heartburn. And heartburn like mine needed a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Now available in cherry and cool mint cream flavors.
Here's the Gillette sensor. It gives a nice close shave. I can't believe I'm buying a razor for my son. He's really grown up. He's a grown man. Soon he'll be packing up, moving out. Come on, he's just a kid.
You know, since they redecorated, I almost hate to leave. Here it is. They've got Scott's liquid fertilizer and turf builder.
Oh, this is what I want. Listen, now that we got food for the lawn, how about feeding the lawnmower?
Look at those clouds, honey. See the ship?
I don't see a ship.
See the airplane?
What airplane? I see a handy cam.
When it changes the way you see the world, there's no doubt. It's a Sony.
Hi. What'd you bring back?
Diarrhea.
Of course. You forgot your kaopectate.
Advanced formula kaopectate. Just one dose helps relieve diarrhea fast.
Next time, I won't forget the kaopectate.
Guaranteed to stop diarrhea fast.
It is National Education Week, and today's lesson, older Americans finding ways to help educate younger Americans.
Boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. Look at the size of this guy now. See that?
A lesson not lost on this 66-year-old reading to first and second graders at the White House today. Which brings us to our daily difference. What works? Put 2 problems together and get a solution. That's what happened in one Colorado school district where senior citizens looking to be productive have now teamed up with kids short on teachers. As NBC's Roger O'Neill reports, everyone wins.
And now we're going to talk about how you can use your hand to tell time.
He has a lifetime of knowledge.
Noon would be way down here.
And the wisdom of a grandfather. Grandpa O'Malley, 72 and on the job with 4th graders at Franklin Elementary. Working for the joy of it and working to reduce his taxes.
Oh, it's great. Sure. They pay about 1/3 of my property tax. And it's a lot of fun, too. Not only do I get a lot of enjoyment just reacting with the kids, but I get excited because they're excited and learning. And I love you, grandfather, but tell me the story again, please.
In the Littleton School District of suburban Denver, the story is 2 years old. The school board passed the Senior Citizen Tax Rebate Program. Principal Diane Lewis.
The classroom teachers use them for a variety of things. I just last week asked them if they wanted some more seniors. And, of course, I had 4 different people that said, yes, yes, any day, any time, bring them in.
What's your number, dear?
271. 271? And by borrowing grandmas and grandpas that come in and work with them, they really get a chance to work with people of a different generation. And the interaction that goes on between them is beautiful.
360? 64-year-old Ivy Parrish is supervising a high school computer room. Before she came, the lab had to close when there weren't enough teachers around.
How do you get to the word folder? To the word?
Retired and on a fixed income, Parrish was having a hard time paying her tax bill.
It's a struggle, and as a matter of fact, a few years down the line, I probably run out of money, and then I'd have to sell my property. And, you know, I don't want to do that. I've lived there for a good many years, and it's paid for, and I want to hang on to it. I don't want to lose it to taxes.
And she won't now. The paycheck for her schoolwork will just about pay all of her school tax bill. In nearby Boulder County, seniors are working in the jail, in health clinics.
How much do you weigh?
At minimum wages and only a few hours a week. but enough to pay the extra $350 in taxes Nancy Persbacher owes on her home.
I own my own home. I want to stay in my own home. It's important to me, and this is a good way to work off my county taxes.
As much as seniors say they need the tax break, something else, perhaps something even more important, is happening in both communities. Seniors like Molly Dorfer say they have a new sense of purpose, and they are working more hours than they have to.
You feel like you're needed. You feel like you've accomplished something. You know, that you've really accomplished something by for what you've done to help.
Help which goes both ways. You can see it in their smile. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Littleton, Colorado.
Tomorrow night on The Daily Difference, vital signs. Alcohol is the drug of choice on America's campuses, and tragically, students are dying for a drink.
Ford, GM, and Honda won't have airbags in all their cars until 1994. By that time, approximately 60,000 airbags will have deployed in Chrysler-built vehicles.
We know there are lots of things you do to improve your pet's quality of life. We do them too. The Hearts 2-in-1 Flea and Tick Collar kills fleas. It also kills ticks that carry Lyme disease, and even the ones that don't. The Hearts 2-in-1 Flea and Tick Collar is good for up to 5 months, rain or shine. Helping to improve your pet's quality of life is your responsibility. Helping you do that is Hearts.
Look, it's a witch. No, it's the coat rack. It's a monster. No, it's Clyde. It's a Trinitron. No, it's the witch.
When it changes your view of a room or the world, it's a Sony.
They're coming. Dow Bathroom Cleaner with scrubbing bubbles. It's 50% stronger than original Dow Bathroom Cleaner. We work even harder, so you don't have to.
1, 2, 3. I'm driving back east on the interstate to a roadside diner and a sirloin steak. I best go west because I like the view. Nothing looks better than a barbecue. No matter where I go, I always go for real food. When I'm north or south, I pull up a chair, order a burger that's medium rare. No matter where I go, I always go for real food. Just goes to show, I always go for real food. Beef, real food for real people.
There still are no charges against William Kennedy Smith, the suspect in the alleged rape of a woman at the Kennedy compound in Palm Beach. While Smith has become a household name, the identity of the woman has been withheld by the news media until now, and this has renewed a journalistic debate over naming names. NBC's Lisa Myers tonight.
The debate was rekindled when the Globe, a supermarket tabloid, revealed what many in Palm Beach have known all along. The woman who says she was raped last month by William Kennedy Smith is 29-year-old Patty Bowman of Jupiter, Florida. She is the full-time mother of a 2-year-old and stepdaughter of Michael O'Neill, who built and founded General Tire Company. The Globe argued that everyone in the world knew Bowman's identity, that it already had been published by a London tabloid.
Our readers should also have access to all the facts. We must also point out there is no shame in being the victim of an alleged rape.
But a victims' rights advocate was outraged.
This is another victimization to her as a result of all the media coverage and attention.
Because the crime of rape is so personal and because society often stigmatizes the victim, it is a common press practice not to reveal the name of a sex crime victim. Other local newspapers and television stations called the Globe irresponsible and said they will continue to protect the victim's identity.
The trauma that it may cause that woman. That's the single most compelling reason, and we try to be sensitive to that.
But some argue that the names of victims should be made public, that not doing so perpetuates the stigma.
It reifies old sexist stereotypes that rape victims are different, that they are somehow damaged goods, or that they brought it on themselves. Rape is a crime of violence, and its victims should be treated just like other victims of violence.
Nancy Ziegenmeyer, an Iowa housewife, captured national attention last year when she came forward with the story of her rape.
Until someone speaks out and these nameless, faceless victims start coming forward, you know, rape is just going to be that. It's going to be something that happens to someone else.
But she says the decision to go public should be left to the woman, not to the press. Most women's groups agree.
If we print names, we're going to discourage people from reporting because they are going to feel once again that they're going to be victimized either by their neighbors or by society at large.
NBC News decided after much debate to name Ms. Bowman in this story. News President Michael Gartner said the purpose is to give viewers more information so they can make up their own minds about the issues involved. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
And now for commentary from John Chancellor tonight talking about what's going on in Nicaragua. John?
Tom, it was a little embarrassing in Washington today when Violeta Chamorro, the president of Nicaragua, addressed a joint meeting of the House and Senate. Only about 20% of the members showed up. The rest sent pages and staff members to fill the seat so it wouldn't look impolite on television. Didn't matter. There was hardly any TV coverage. It is also a little embarrassing to remember the superheated rhetoric we were getting about Nicaragua a few years ago. The freedom fighters were the moral equal of our founding fathers. The Contras were the only force that could keep the red tide from lapping at the border of Texas. Defeating Daniel Ortega and the Sandinistas was vital to American national security. Then a miracle. Ortega and the Sandinistas were defeated in a free election. And for the last year, the new government there has been desperately trying to build a democracy out of the ruins. It needs help very badly, and a lot of it. But the superheated rhetoric about Nicaragua is no more. American aid money is drying up. The orators who told us how vital Nicaraguan democracy was to our national security, all gone. Nicaragua has slid off our radar screen. It's out there somewhere in the dark with Muammar Gaddafi, African hunger, Vietnamese refugees, and other victims of the terrible short American attention span. But the real world goes on, and in the real world, democracy in Nicaragua may not make it. Nicaragua could still slide back into dictatorship while the American people and their leaders look the other way, and that would be a real embarrassment. Tom?
Thank you, John. The White House today, the first ever meeting between President Bush and the Dalai Lama, who's been leading a worldwide campaign for the human rights of 6 million Tibetans now living under Chinese rule. The Chinese leadership is critical of the Dalai Lama's role, so tonight's meeting with the Dalai Lama reportedly is a signal from President Bush that he's unhappy with several of Beijing's current policies, including arms sales.
Too much of a good thing is a good thing. The new, incredibly comfortable Mercury Grand Marquis. All this on the quality of a Mercury.
It seems that every time you turn around these days, another pain reliever with ibuprofen in it is comparing itself to Tylenol. But you know what they can't say? They can't say they're gentler than Tylenol, because they're not. Tylenol won't irritate your stomach the way ibuprofen sometimes can. That's a medical fact. And is it any wonder that today hospitals use Tylenol 14 times more than ibuprofen? Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Hey, what happened to your gray hair? You noticed, huh? Well, I did it too, but I worried about it looking phony. Does mine look phony? It looks natural. How'd you do it? Clairol Option. Clairol Option? Clairol Option for men. Clairol knows natural-looking color, and there's no point in mixing. My hair even feels thicker. So how long is it going to take me to look like your twin again? Just 5 minutes. That easy.
Clairol Option for men.
You were right. You know something? If you're going to do it right.
I know it was our imaginations, but it felt like people looked at us like we had come from Mars instead of just moving from out of state. Oh, for a friendly face. Thank goodness we bank at First Interstate.
And thank goodness for Bill Franklin. He not only had all our First Interstate accounts from home waiting for us.
And he also gave us the warm welcome we needed.
Now that's extra mile service.
If you want extra mile service, come to First Interstate Bank. We go the extra mile for you, guaranteed.
David Lean died in London today at 83. He's probably not a familiar name to this generation of movie audiences, raised as they are on mutant turtles and high-tech murder. But kids, trust us, this man was a master. NBC's Tom Pettit.
Lawrence of Arabia, the quintessential David Lean movie. With dramatic location cinematography. Peter O'Toole became famous as Lawrence almost 30 years ago because of David Lean.
He was one of those extraordinarily gifted Brits with enormous authority and great charm.
I think the movies are wonderful when they tell a story, and the story contains these great big outsized characters that you feel privileged to have dinner with, as it were.
One remarkable scene in Lawrence is burned into moviegoers' memories. You are looking at Omar Sharif on a camel. Sharif also played the doctor in Lean's biggest moneymaker, Dr. Zhivago. Co-star Julie Christie said if Lean had asked her to walk over a cliff, she would have.
He's the best.
He was a demanding director. His movies won 28 Oscars, but he was never satisfied.
I've never made a movie that I can sit back and say, well, that's it. I'm delighted. There are bits of movies that I like, you know?
In 1957, Bridge over the River Kwai was an instant classic. He was creating a style of pictorial extravagance which influenced younger filmmakers.
There were two of his films, The Bridge over the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia, that most made me want to be a filmmaker.
I don't even just put on a loaded spectacle and expect it to be successful with the public. Of course, you've got to have a foreground action. And it's awfully easy for critics to say, oh, the action, the background swamped the foreground. But I don't think I've done that.
Tom Pettit, NBC News, London.
That's Nightly News for this Tuesday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. See you tomorrow night.
A call girl is murdered. Now fans got to help the top suspect get off.
Oh, this is crazy.
Is Matlock up to the challenge? Then she witnessed a murder, and now they're after her.
Oh, please don't kill me.
Strangers in the Night, an all-new Shannon's Deal mystery movie. After Matlock on NBC tonight.
I'm Brian Gumbel. Tomorrow morning on Today, we'll check out the best places to move to in America.
I'm Catherine Kirk. We'll talk with Judith Ivey from the NBC comedy series Down Home.
Join us tomorrow morning on Today.
I'm Pete Schulberg.
And I'm Kathy Smith. Next on News 8 at 6, our top story. Will it be a nationwide walkout? A rail strike is set for 9 tonight our time. We'll see what it'll mean to Oregon residents.
And ending sexual discrimination, Governor Roberts speaks out on civil rights for gays and lesbians.
From KGW-TV Channel 8 Portland, this is News 8 at 6.
Good evening. 3 years of bargaining still hasn't paid off tonight as the rail industry gets ready for a nationwide walkout.
Railroads and their unions are working against a 9 o'clock deadline here on the West Coast, but at this hour it appears a strike will happen. Now on the East Coast, they're looking at a midnight walkout affecting the freight industry. At the core, complaints about wages, work rules, and